Welcome to Collective Worship. Peace be with you. Now I'm going to light our virtual candle. So I hope you've got yourself sitting comfortably, because I want to know which football team you are supporting if you've been watching the Euros on TV. I expect most of you are supporting England, but not everybody supports the country that they're living in. And there's all sorts of reasons for that. Perhaps your mom or your dad was born in a different country, and so everyone in the family supports the country where they were born. Or maybe you were born in a different country and support the country that you were born in. People move around the world an awful lot these days for all sorts of reasons. It might be that your mom or your dad's got a really good job and you go off on an adventure to start a new life in a different country. But some people don't choose to move countries. Sometimes people are forced to move countries. And this week is a week when we're asked to think about the people that have been forced to move home. They've been forced to leave their home behind and move to a new place. They didn't have any choice in it. It wasn't what they wanted to do. They were forced to do that. And we say that that is becoming a refugee. And this week is Refugee Week, when we think about all of the people who are having to move around the world because lots of different circumstances. Now you may be thinking, well, I like my home, I wouldn't want to leave my home. And in this country, we do live in a safe place. So why do people become refugees? Well, it might be because where they were living has suffered a natural disaster. Maybe a huge storm or an earthquake has destroyed their house and where they live, and it can't be repaired, and there's no food or water, so they have to move to a different area that's not been affected to find food and water and shelter. And those people can become refugees. Or it might be because there's not been enough rain in the area where people are living. And so the land just dries up and there's a drought and there's not enough food to eat. And so people have to move from where they were living to an area where the rains have come and there's food to grow and water to drink. Or it may be because people don't feel safe where they're living. Perhaps people are treating others very badly because of their ethnicity, their race, or it might be that people are being treated very badly because of their beliefs, their faith and their religion. And if people are being treated badly or persecuted, then they don't feel safe and they are so afraid that they have to leave their homes and travel to somewhere where they do feel safe and they can practice their faith or just be who they are without worrying. Or many people have to leave their homes because of war. It might be that their homes are just in a danger spot where there's lots of fighting going on, or even that their homes have been destroyed by the fighting and by the war, and they have to leave and find somewhere that's peaceful and safe. So in England, we're very lucky that we live in a safe country. There's no wars going on. People aren't persecuted for their faith or their ethnicity, and we don't have that many natural disasters. So we will have to use our imaginations to think what it would be like if we had to leave our homes in a rush. So I wonder, what would you want to take with you? What would you put in your backpack to take with you? So you might want to pause the video for a second and have a chat as to what you think you might need to take with you. So if you've had a chat, here are my suggestions. So you'd need some clothes, and you'd need some food and some water, and maybe you want to take some games and your phone, but if you're walking a long way, I wonder where you're going to find to plug those in. They might not be very useful in the long run, but you might want to take your favourite toy and a picture of your family or your home and something to keep you warm at night to sleep in, maybe a torch or some money. So those are the things that you might need to pack in your backpack. I wonder what other suggestions you came up with. But remember, most refugees have to walk and carry their bags with them on their back. So you can't take too much and you'll have to carry it all. It's hard, isn't it, to make those decisions? And so if you can't take everything, I'm going to ask you to imagine now, if you had to leave your home, what would you miss? You want to pause the video for a second and have a chat about what you might miss if you had to leave your home and become a refugee. Well, you miss your home to start with, and most refugee children don't manage to go to school while they're fleeing from the dangers and becoming refugees. So you'd probably miss your school, and I bet you would miss your comfortable bed. I know I would. And you'd miss your friends that you had to leave behind. And I would miss my church. So you might miss your church, or you might miss the places where you go to meet your friends. And I bet you'd miss all of your toys and your games and your electronics at home. You'd miss all of those things too. But how about this? I wonder if you've thought of this one. Would you miss speaking in your own language? Many refugees move to another country where people speak a different language from the one they grew up learning. So would you miss speaking your own language? And would you miss understanding what everyone was saying around you while you learnt the new language of the country that you'd moved to? I think I would. And here's another funny one. Would you miss your favourite food? Different countries around the world have different food and different ingredients. And I think one thing that makes you feel really at home is your favourite meal. So that might be something else that you would really miss if you became a refugee. So if any of you are interested, here are some facts about refugees. 79.5 million people had to leave their homes in 2019, and that's according to the United Nations. So that's just an astounding number of people. That's thousands and thousands of full football stadiums full of people who've had to leave their home. And out of those people, 40% of them, that's almost half of those people, are children. That's about 31.8 million children had to leave their homes because of danger or persecution or war, and they had to go and move somewhere else. And out of those 79.5 million people, most of them just moved in their own country to a different area of the country and started life again in their home country. About 45.7 million people lived in their own country, and that's that yellow section. And 33.8 million people moved to another country, so that's the green section. So not as many people moved to a new country. And out of the people in that green section who moved to a new country, most of them in the checky bit, the purple and green checks, moved to a country next door to where they were living already. And most of the host countries who welcome refugees are already poor countries. They're not rich countries like England. They're countries that are already struggling, but they still welcome refugees and help them settle and help them start a new life. Do come to Britain, just a small number of refugees, and only a very small number come to North Yorkshire. But that makes it really, really important that when refugees do come to our area, we make them very welcome. Make sure they know that they're welcome and help them whenever we can. So I wonder, how could we welcome people who are refugees if they come to our area? Well, the easy thing, the thing that I say most often is give people a smile. Everyone knows what a smile means, even if they don't speak your language. So give people a smile. If someone's new is in the playground, give them a smile. They might just have moved because their dad's got a new job in North Yorkshire, or it might be that they've had to move because of danger in their home country and they're feeling very lost and strange, and seeing a smile will make them feel welcome. And you could invite them to play games with you, to join in at lunchtime and in the playground, and make them feel welcome. Invite them to play with you. As we said, people that move from a different country might not speak the language very well. They might not have grown up speaking English, so they're having to learn it. So you can be really patient with them if they don't understand straight away. And perhaps you could do a mime or point to things to help them understand what you're saying, and that will help them learn English quickly. And refugees are clever people and they pick up languages quickly. And maybe you could be clever too and ask them to tell you a few words in their language so that you could say hello or good morning in their language. Wouldn't that make them feel welcome and at home, that you were trying your hardest to make them feel comfortable and welcome, and that you are glad to see them in our area? So those are just a few easy things that people can do to support refugees. You can also support the work of charities like the Refugee Council or Oxfam, who provided all the pictures for today's collective worship, or people like the United Nations. You could support the work of them and find out more about refugees, and that would also help to make people feel welcome. So there's lots to think about this week in our collective worship, but it's a very important thing to think about, that we make refugees feel welcome. And now I'm going to finish with a short prayer. If you'd like to make it your prayer, you could either turn off the sound and read the words yourself, or you could just say Amen, which means I agree at the end. But if you're not comfortable saying a prayer, then that's okay. You could just listen to the words and think about the situation that refugees find themselves in and how hard it has been for them to make that journey and leave everything behind. So let's have a moment of prayer or reflection together. Loving God, thank you that we live in a safe place. Be with all the people who have to leave their homes. Help us to welcome people who arrive in our area. Amen. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.